All right, we are live. We are live on YouTube, Twitch, Odyssey, Rumble, DLive, CBS, CNN, ABC, Fox, NBC, MSNBC, NPR, and even a radio station in San Antonio, Texas called 107.5 The Buzz. Yeah, that is absolutely wild. It's crazy to think we have over 8,000 live viewers right now. It might not reflect that on YouTube, but, it doesn't really matter. You don't need to pay attention to the numbers and things like that. It's about the effort that's put forward. Anyways, I've got this property here, and I've already done a few shots for it, but there's plenty of shots left to edit, and that's exactly what I'm going to do right now in front of your very eyes. I'm going to take this piece of crap and transform it into something absolutely amazing. Absolutely just gonna turn it into absolute magic right now. So basically these are the ones that I already have edited, and I'm just tweaking a few things on these, and then then I'm going to go over to this folder called mag, and these are the ones that I have to edit right now. The remaining shots for this property that isn't really that great, it's not really that nice, and plus it was taken by my other photographer who I don't really care for because he doesn't listen to me. He doesn't do what I tell him to do out there in the field. I tell him to clean his lens, clean the dirt spots off your lens. He doesn't want to do it. He just wants to do things his way. And that's fine, That's fine. There's no reason to listen to the guy editing your photos. Anyways, I'm just going through these to load them up in the cache in Adobe Bridge. As you can see, it kind of takes a second, and then I can preview them. And I'm just going through all the raw images here. We got some with the flash, some without a flash. Basically just going to be doing the normal thing where we blend them together, and then we use the pen tool and all sorts of other fun stuff in Photoshop to mask out those windows. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, folks. Buckle up. Buckle up for the ride of your life right now. Here we go. Are you ready? You're not ready, are you? Well, too bad. Too bad, because I got to get this property done and sent out to the agents. Yeah. Save that PSD and move on to the other raw exposures. And just adjust the color temperature, brightness, contrast, shadows, highlights, all that fun stuff. Be sure you hit Command S or Control S very often. It's very important that you save your work every couple of minutes or so. It's really hard to talk sometimes. It's very difficult. It's very, very difficult to talk. Life is hard. Life can be very, very hard sometimes. And of course, as always, I like to use this remove chromatic aberration. Again, I don't know if you can see this on your monitor, but there's that chromatic aberration that we get around the windows from the camera itself. And Photoshop does a great job at actually removing that. So I'm going to take that non-flash image, and then I'm going to take the flash image, I'm going to pop in a mask, and I'm just going to use a soft brush to paint that in. That way we can get some more visibility with that. Like I said, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be 8.5 hours of this. So get ready. If you're not already. I hope you are, though. Whoops. Hit Command D to deselect that crappy selection. Fill that in just like that, and since this is a basic shape, I'm going to basically do the same thing with this tool. And boy, those comments in the chat are just coming in like hotcakes right now. That's what happens when you have over 24,000 live viewers on your live stream. The chat is just going crazy. You guys need to slow down back there. Take it down a notch. Now that I've got that, I'm going to hit Command on this mask. That way it makes that selection active again. And then I'm going to hit Command Shift and then click. That way it selects not only this selection over here, it also selects that mask, making the entire selections active. And then I'm going to hit this little icon here. It's going to save that kind of as a master path. Yeah, pro tip of the day right there, folks. Pro tip of the day. Now that I've got those windows masked nice and even there, I'm going to pop in an adjustment layer and just kind of brighten up the interior here. Oh, make sure it's underneath that layer though. Come in here and kind of brush out the flash. And I'm just going to sample a similar color there. And I'm just going to get that selection active and paint that in there. And then I'm going to make this one selection active over there and just kind of paint in that and just throw it into a darken blend mode just so I can get a little bit more blue there. And since the mask edges are a little sharp, I'd like to blur that. Just select the mask itself like that. Go up to the properties and just feather that a little bit. And again, the chat is going absolutely crazy right now. They're loving it. They're loving every aspect of everything they're seeing on their computer screen right now. How could they not? How could anyone be bored watching this? It's not even possible. It's not even possible. Just trying to remove some of the yellows. A little oversaturated there. Little oversaturated there. Oh. Let me click off that, grab the patch tool, merge everything onto a new layer, and then just get rid of that stuff over there. And I'll get rid of the light switch over there. I'll select the spot healing brush and just kind of dab that in those areas there to kind of clean this up a little bit. And it looks okay. I'm personally not satisfied with it, but we're going to come back to it in a little bit. And we're going to make sure it's absolutely perfect. We're going to do everything we can to make it as perfect as possible. Save that. Command S. Save as a JPEG. Select JPEG. Save. Those are the best settings possible right there that you just saw. And there's 9 more of these to go through. It's only going to take a couple hours, though. Maybe 45 minutes or something like that. I don't know. Again, I'm just selecting a nice base image here. And once again, Command S or Control S, save to the PSD file. Name it DEN, D-E-N. Whatever the room is called, that's what you should name it. Makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'm cooling this down. I'm cooling the image down with the color temperature, as you can see. With my cursor tool, or move tool, excuse me, if you want to get very scientific, with my move tool, I drag and drop that onto that document right there. And we're adding to the overall layer stack right here on the right-hand side. Yeah, that's what's happening right now. And we're going to zoom in because we're just focusing on the windows, just the outside. And again, adjust the color temperature. Make sure it looks nice. You know, make sure it's not overly warm or overly cool. Turn on that remove chromatic aberration thing here. This thing over here under optics, yeah, I like to have my camera raw panel organized like this. I like to have color first, light second, optics third, and I really don't ever use anything else except maybe detail for noise reduction. But I don't really need that because the ISO is typically set at 100 for these photos. You know, so it doesn't really matter. But if you want to edit and, you know, organize your panels right here, if they're not organized how you want them to be, you can just come up here under something that you've expanded and you can right click and hit edit panels to show, and it'll pop up with all these. And what you do is you select one, and with your up and down arrows on your keyboard, you can place them where you want. And this is how I want them. So I'm going to hit OK, and it'll stay pretty much as is. Another pro tip, that's why you subscribe to this channel. You subscribe because you are a professional and you are smart, just like me. I'm going to lower that down to about 4K. Okay? I'm not going to keep it at 6K. It's kind of unnecessary. It's kind of unnecessary. Look, I like to have high-resolution photos myself, but the virtual tours that we use, it automatically resizes things down to 4K. So even if I kept it at 6K, once I send it out, it's going to be at 4K no matter what. So that's just how that goes, you know. It's just how life is. And I'm using the pen tool to make some very, very precise, you know, things over here. Whatever these are called, I don't know. I didn't go to school to, you know, learn about whatever this thing is called over here. Whatever I'm making, these paths, if you want to call it that, which I am pretty sure is the correct term. It's a path, right? And then once we make it active, it becomes a selection, like I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to make this layer visible. I'm going to right click. I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard, and then I'm going to hit that mask tool. Excuse me, mask button. Oh, I added one too many. It's easy to make mistakes in Photoshop. That's why you have the undo ability. The ability to undo things in Photoshop. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. But on a serious note, this photographer isn't the best photographer. He's not my favorite. I mentioned it before. I'm going to bring it up again. He's not my favorite. He likes to fight me. He likes to fight me on everything I tell him to do. This really doesn't even look that good. The outside, it really looks like crap in my opinion. And it's not because, you know, this photographer that I'm just not very fond of. It's just kind of the property. But, you know, that's kind of how things go sometimes. You're going to get properties that you edit really well, and they just still don't look that great. That's just kind of how life is. You know, you want things to look amazing 100% of the time. But things aren't perfect in life. I'm not perfect, believe it or not. I mean, if you can believe that. I know you don't believe that, but it's true. I'm not perfect. I do make mistakes. I am human. Yeah, it does happen from time to time. Again, I'm going to merge all onto a new layer. I'm going to drag out my guides. I'm not going to use the lens distortion correction tool in Photoshop because it sucks. It's a crappy tool that doesn't do a good job. That's why I like to do things manually. I like to have control over pretty much everything here. And I'm just going to use the warp tool or function, whatever you want to call it. Hitting Command 0 to go back to zoom out, or Command plus, Command minus, things like that. Whatever you're feeling, you know, whatever you feel like doing that day. Again, this is not perfect by any means, and I really don't like how the outside looks. It's kind of the windows. The windows look like they're kind of dirty. But I'm going to sharpen that real quick. And then I'm going to save it as a JPEG, as always. Never a PNG. It's just unnecessary. And we're going through these at lightning speed, as you can tell. Here is one without the flash. Here's one with the flash. Here's another with the flash. With the flash. Without the flash. Very, very dark. That way we're getting the outside, you know. We're covering all the bases. This is completely unnecessary, these last three here. I do not need those. I do not need those. I will never need them. I will never need to use those. Again, need to cool this way down because it's very, very, very orange and yellow. That's not the look that we want to have. We don't want that type of look. Again, we're going to hit Command S. We're going to save it. We are going to save it. And then I'm going to grab one with the flash. Cool it down. Adjust those temperature colors. Color, temperature. I told you it was going to be exciting. I told you you weren't ready. You thought you were ready. No, you're not ready. You're not ready. That's why you got to bring your A game if you're going to be a professional photo editor of real estate and architecture or portraits. You know, things like that. You got to be somewhat competent. You can't just rely on ChatGPT to edit all of your photos. Trust me, I use it a lot. I use it most of the time to edit these photos. ChatGPT can be very helpful. I say, ChatGPT, edit this entire property for me. And it does. Sometimes it does a better job than I can do. It's amazing. The artificial intelligence is just incredible. Oh boy, it is just something spectacular. Again, I'm coming in here, since these are primitive shapes. These are just squares, people. I know you can handle it. And I'm cutting right through this this handle on this door here. I'm going to come back and then subtract it just like that. Again, you're not ready for this. This is where the professionals congregate. This is where we all meet up and gather and exchange ideas about being professionals in Photoshop, about Photoshop, and how to become better at Photoshop. It's not for the amateur. It's not for the amateur. It's only for the professionals. Like me. And you, if you're, good enough. Again, I'm taking the pen tool and I'm just gleaming the cube here. Gleaming the cube, as the kids say. We're just going around these edges. We're making curves. We're making straight lines. We're doing everything in between. We're messing up. We're Control Zing. We're Command Zing to undo. Because we have that ability. We have that ability, people. And always make sure that you're zooming out to make sure that you know what it is you're making the path where you're placing that path. Make sure that you're not going over objects that you don't want to include in your path. And again, this is a pretty crappy property. It's just not that nice, I gotta be honest. I buy and sell homes like this every day. Every day. It's not even a question. I mean, if you're not buying and selling property, what are you doing with your life? Yeah, you know, I mean, I got my start being a professional in Photoshop, but once I learned how to use Photoshop, that's when I started investing my money. Yeah. Because I'm a professional. And again, since I used the path tool, the pen tool, and we have this path over here saved, but there's a problem. I used the polygonal lasso tool to make this selection over here, and I don't have that saved because Photoshop doesn't automatically save these selections unless you hit this button while it's currently active. Yeah, it's a shame, I know. So what we're gonna do to save this is that we're just gonna hit Command and then click that mask right there, and it makes everything an active selection. And since we have the left and right hand side active now we can click that button down here and it'll save everything onto a work path. Basically, it just became a master work path. Yeah. Did you see that? Photoshop just tried to give me some sort of tip on how to use this program. Can you believe that? As if Photoshop doesn't know who I am. That's a joke. Everyone knows who I am. Everybody knows how good I am at Photoshop and how I can use the brush tool to paint in brightness. You know, not many people can say that. So, as a professional, I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to just click that and feather that to soften it up because the edges are a little harsh. They're a little sharp, a little rough around the edges, as they say. So, I'm going to zoom out after I did that. I'm going to merge all onto a new layer. I'm going to zoom in and highlight my photographer's imperfections, such as that little dirt spot that I keep telling him to remove off of his lens. Yeah, I'm going to embarrass him right now. He needs to be shamed. He needs to be shamed so that he can become a better professional out there in the field, you know? Me, on the other hand, I am perfect. I am perfect. I am absolutely just, I can't say it enough. I am a professional, a professional when it comes to Photoshop here. Blows me away sometimes. I mean, I can't even believe how good I am at this stuff, you know? I went to school for 2 years to learn this type of stuff, you know? It didn't even take me 2 years. It took me like a week, and I already, you know, was better than everyone there. Everybody was trying to figure out how to make a new document in Photoshop, and I was already, you know, doing stuff with it professionally. So, as a professional, I'm going to hit that button. I'm going to hit that button, whatever that button is called. Oh, but before I do, I'm going to zoom in here with that cool magnifying glass. This thing right here on your left-hand side. Look at that. Photoshop just tried to give me another tip. It still doesn't appreciate how good I am. It's a joke. So I'm going to hit Command S or Control S if you're on Windows. Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm going to save that as a JPEG. I'm going to hit Command W on that. And we're just going to keep on going. It's not a difficult property to edit at all. It's very straightforward. It's very straightforward. And I have to say it again, I don't really like this property that much. It's not my cup of tea. I like to work on homes that cost at least 100 million. Anything below that is, it's peasant work. This is peasant work. This is for the peasants. I am not a peasant. I'm a professional. You know, I can't say it enough. I am absolutely amazing with Photoshop and Camera Raw. As you can see, we're back in Camera Raw right now. And I'm going to do the same professional stuff that I've been doing throughout this entire video. Look at that. Look at how easy it is for me to make these adjustments. Can you say the same thing? I doubt it. I really, really doubt it. I doubt that you understand how to move these sliders back and forth like I do. To get that type of result, you can't do that. Okay? Don't even come at me with that. Okay? All right. Now that I've got that set up, again, I'm going to lower it to 4K. I'm going to pop in a mask. I'm going to grab my soft brush, and I'm just going to kind of dab this a few times. I'm going to paint it in a few times. But the problem is that we get this darkened look, right? The left side, the right side, things are getting a little bit dark. We want to maintain the bright, exciting vibe, right? But that's the balance that comes with blending layers together and, all that fun stuff. So, since these are kind of basic shapes and, I'm just kind of above this type of work, I'm just going to use the polygonal lasso tool. Probably should use the pen tool. If you're not as good as me, which I know you're not. I know you're not, okay? So, make as many points as possible. Make as many points as needed when you're going over curved objects such as this little couch, this little chair down here, right? Make as many points as possible. The more points that you make, the softer and more curved it will be, your selection and your path, right? Don't just click once or twice. It'll look like a block. That's not what you want. Again, I'm going to hit Command and then click that mask. I'm just going to use the blur tool to feather that mask a little bit. The blur tool I typically have set at about 15%. Yeah. Look at that. That's a stingray right there. You ever seen one of those things? It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Nature is just fantastic. All right, let's move that into place because it's not lining up. Again, my photographer, he's not my favorite, but I have to edit his work because somebody needs to make the world turn. That's where I come in. Hopefully that's where you come in as a professional using Photoshop, right? As a professional using Photoshop. Yeah, it's amazing. Photoshop is really incredible. So I'm going to click this mask once, and I'm going to make sure that black is filled in there with that. And with my soft brush, I'm just going to kind of dab that a few times. It was a little dark there at the bottom area. And if I could remove the reflection, oh, look at that. Yeah, you don't know how to do that. You don't know how to take the spot healing brush and do that. Don't tell me you do. Don't tell me you know how to make a stingray look good in Photoshop, okay? Because I won't believe you if you tell me that. Again, we're going to merge all onto a new layer. We're going to go up to mode. We're going to transition it to lab mode. And then I'm going to run my sharpen pass. Yeah. Yeah. So now that it's sharpened, I'm just going to, kind of straighten these out on the left and right hand side. It's a little curved. Nice straight lines can really take you far in life, Yeah. I think with this I will I'll do that. Yeah. just a little bit there, like that. And I'm going to use that existing adjustment layer, and I'm going to paint that into the surrounding areas. Before, after, before, after. Looks a little bit better. It's not a major change, but I say it all the time, those small changes add up to big things. And on that note, we're going to take a quick break, folks. So I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, okay? Stay exactly where you are. Stay exactly where you are. Don't touch that remote. We will be right back. All right, we are back. We are back and ready to attack in Photoshop. And we've got 10 total. We've got 4 done. Let's take a look at these. Looks okay so far, I guess. It's all right. Let me take a look at the other ones that I did earlier. Yeah, these look fine for the most part. Again, it really helps if you've got a good photographer that knows how to get good exposures. That's why I say this photographer here isn't the best, because his workflow out there in the field isn't really that great. It's really too basic. It's just too basic sometimes. And the end result isn't always stellar. So again, we're moving on. We're not going to focus on, the downsides of real estate photography. We're here to get excited about it and, have fun in Photoshop. I think that's one thing that we can all agree on. Why we got a computer in the first place is to learn Photoshop and use it. I know that's exactly why I bought a computer. I kept hearing things about Photoshop, how amazing it is. I just had to get one and, get in on the fun. So I'm going to use that existing layer, and of course these are not lining up. And I guess I'll just use the pen tool for this one right here. The pen tool takes longer than the polygonal lasso tool, but it always gives a better result, especially for curved objects like this faucet. So we are officially in the second half of this live stream, and let me take a look at the viewer count right now. We are up to 30. We're over 30,000. Over 30,000 people watching right now. That is absolutely stunning, guys. I mean, I can't thank you enough. Can't believe there's that many people watching right now, live, all over the world. There's people in Italy watching this right now. That is crazy. Milan, Hawaii, Alaska. I saw some people in Russia speaking Russian back there. I think somebody was chatting in the chat box in Korean or Chinese a few minutes ago. I mean, that's the effect that I have with real estate photography editing. I mean, it's a worldwide effect that I have on people. It's just, it really humbles you, it really, really humbles you. Don't look at how many people are, don't look at the view count on YouTube. It's not accurate. They like to lie about certain things. The view count is like one of them, I think. Yeah, so don't pay any attention to that. Just know that there's over 30,000 people watching right now. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to grab the blur tool and blur this. What I'm doing here is I'm trying to fill this in because this is just, I hate how this looks, these bars over the windows. If I can like minimize that and just kind of make it look, you know what, I can probably just sample this, fill that in, and then use a clipping mask to match the color of the metal over here, and just incrementally bring it up. That looks a lot better. Yeah, looks better. I should not have blurred the actual layer, but from a distance it's fine. I'll take this down just a little bit more. That's okay. It's a lot better than having that. I mean, that just looks like total garbage. I see that all the time. People just come in there with a pen tool and they'll make their selection, and they won't go into the different areas over the window. They'll just kind of block it out, and they'll call it a day, and it really looks like just total garbage, just total crap. Total crap. To me, it's unacceptable because I'm a professional. I want a professional result. I don't like garbage. I'm not Oscar the Grouch, And it's overkill to sit here and try and make this perfect. I'm just trying to remove that. Tripod leg there. Again, I'm going to merge all onto a new layer and then drag out a guide. And yeah, this is all manual stuff. There's really nothing that is automatic when it comes to editing real estate photography. There's no workflow out there in the field that you can do to automate everything. You need to get lots of exposures for each shot and composite them together correctly to walk away with a high quality professional result. It has not changed ever since architectural photography began, post-production and all that. It has not changed. And doesn't look like it's going to change because we're still using cameras and digital tools to edit those photos that we get with the cameras, right? It's pretty simple stuff. AI cannot do this. It can't just magically come up with some room at an address of a house, right? You have to physically go out there and take the photos and then edit them. And another thing that I see all the time is people leave their flashes in the windows. You are not a professional if you are leaving your flashes in the reflections. Don't be a noob. Don't be a noob. Learn how to edit. Don't use Lightroom. Don't use Lightroom. Don't use other programs for noobs. You have to learn Photoshop, and no, Affinity Pro is not an acceptable replacement for Photoshop. Affinity is garbage. It is useless for photography workflows and post-production. It is completely useless. Trust me, I've tried to make the switch. It's garbage. Absolute garbage. I've done everything I can to get away from Adobe. And unfortunately, there's no other program that does what Adobe does. They have a complete monopoly on everything. Maybe people out there that aren't doing creative work professionally can easily get away from the Adobe environment and ecosystem. And that's pretty easy to do, but for most professionals, that's not an option because the tools in the other programs outside of what Adobe offers are not at the level that Adobe is at. There's a reason that Adobe is number one and they have a monopoly on everything, and it's because they have done this for decades and decades, and they have had the financial backing to invest into their company in order to continue to develop their programs and products and things like that. So unfortunately for you and I and most other people, it's just not an option to leave Adobe. Again, as much as I want to. I was able to get away from Premiere by switching over to Resolve. That's about it though. And even if there's some other company that is a rival or a competitor to an Adobe product like Photoshop, if they get big enough and their program gets good enough, Adobe will just come in and buy them out. Or they'll just lobby government groups like the SEC and like trade commissions to, hammer the small guys and make it really difficult for them to stay profitable and things like that. They'll just lobby the crap out of all these politicians and stuff to make sure that Adobe stays numero uno. So it's not really an option to get outside of this ecosystem. Just like Android, Google, and iOS. Unless you want to de-Google your Android with Graphene or Lineage or something like that, you can do that. But for most people, they don't want to do that. They like their conveniences. And they don't want to have to actually work at anything. They just kind of want everything that's convenient. I'll put in the work. I will definitely put in the work if I can maintain my own data and stuff like that, and not give it over to some multinational conglomerate. You know, that'd be great. But yeah, I wish I could get away from all these programs and just use something that's more privacy focused and stuff like that. But Affinity Pro, that program sucks. That is absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. There's a reason that you can buy that program for like $70 for a lifetime license. There's a reason. There's a reason that programs like 3D Studio Max and Maya, or even Photoshop before their cloud-based subscription model came into place, there's a reason that these programs cost like $3,000 a year. There's a reason that Photoshop used to cost like what, $700-800 for like 2 licenses or something, and that was only for that year's release of Photoshop. Photoshop is glitching out on me, so I'm going to close that. I'm going to reopen it. This one's taking a little bit longer, but you know, that's kind of what you got to do. You got to put in the time to get the effort that you want. And again, don't leave reflections untouched. So I'm going to use that existing mask right there and just paint this in. I don't want this to be completely white. And I'll just come in there and brush that in. It's looking okay, but again, this kind of comes down to the job that the photographer did and the exposures that he gets. There's a big difference with how this guy does his exposures out there in the field when he's doing shoots for homes. There's a big difference between this guy and my main photographer, who knows how to do everything like perfectly. He gets me the exact exposures that I need to make the images like basically perfect. This almost looks like it was shot with like a low-grade Canon or something. The images will still look fine. It'll look great, but it's not as good as it could be. You know, just using the spot healing brush. I wish I had time to come in here and really remove all these manually, the reflections from the lights. One thing that you can do if you're doing night shoots is to turn off all of the lights inside during a night shoot, and then get your exposures for the outside. That way you don't have any reflections from the interior itself. It's always a good idea to do that, but most photographers just kind of want to get in and out and on to the next job that they have to go drive to, you know. And if it takes any time at all to really set a scene up, it's kind of asking a lot from the photographers, you know. They probably don't want to, they probably can't be bothered to do stuff like that unless it's like a really expensive job where the agent is paying a ton of money and we're making a good chunk of change off of, you know. For stuff like this, it's probably not too necessary though. Again, just kind of straightening out those lines. That's why you have to learn Photoshop. There's nothing that's going to automate this. There's nothing that's going to automate coming in here and making these selections, you know, with the pen tool or this, that, or the other, or whatever. You have to know how to do it. You got to know how to balance the colors and everything. Save that. Move on to the next. And this property is taking a little bit of time, but that just means more fun for you and I. That's all it means. It means more fun for you, me, and the other 50,000 viewers that are live with us right now. This is crazy. The numbers keep growing exponentially every 10 minutes. Let's check in on the chat. Where's everybody at? Where's everybody from? at that. Wow. I'm reading the chat as I'm editing this simultaneously. There's one guy in Hong Kong right now. It's like 10 o'clock. What time is it over there? It's like midnight in Hong Kong. This guy should be asleep. He should be asleep right now, but yet he's watching a professional Photoshop user live stream on YouTube and Twitch and DLive and Rumble and Odyssey and even a radio station in San Antonio, Texas. That's right. Yeah. Why would they be broadcasting this on a radio station? Well, it's because people want knowledge. That's it. They don't have to see what we're doing here. They can just hear my voice and know that somebody very smart is speaking. All you have to do is listen to my words. My words, I can't even come up with words to describe my words. It really boggles the mind. It absolutely boggles the mind. It also boggles the mind as to why I can't get exposures that just line up. Oh, gosh. Let's see. Looks good over there, and it doesn't look good over here. You see? That's the problem. It's good on the right-hand side, but over here on the left-hand side, it's just not that great. You know what? I think I'm just going to fire everybody. I'm going to be the only person at this company from now on. I should be. I absolutely should be the president and CEO. I'm done. I'm done dealing with the attitude of these people, you know? They can't even get their photos to line up. And I'm supposed to edit their photography? Are you kidding? You have to be kidding me right now. You gotta be joking. I want a pay raise, I want a pay increase, and I want stock options. That's what I want. I want this company publicly traded on the Dow and NASDAQ and the S&P 500. I want it all. I want all of it. Yes, I make over $1 million every year. It's not enough though, because I'm constantly trying to elevate myself financially. If you're not making at least $1 million every year using Photoshop, you know, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing? How do I make over $1 million using Photoshop? If anybody out there is asking that question, then you need to do some serious soul searching right now. You need to do some serious soul searching right now. Oh, boy. My first year that I learned Photoshop, I was already making like 80 grand. $80,000. How? Well, I am smart and I know how to make money using Photoshop and charging people a lot of money to use it and make custom graphics for them. Yeah. Just gonna feather that real quick, and I'm gonna come in here and make a quick selection. Make a quick selection. Always look for those reflections. Make sure they're not overexposed and all that. And the countertop here is overexposed and all that. Gonna bring this down a little bit. Pop in an adjustment layer right there. And brighten up the interior here. And as we can see, the floor is like way overexposed, and I just cut through this right here. So I'm gonna grab a hard brush. We got the opacity at 100, flow at 100. That way it just, makes everything 100% when you paint it in and all that fun stuff. I probably shouldn't leave it like that. I don't know if the real estate agent will like how that looks. I think it looks great. I would do this if I could. I think that looks kind of artistic if I just did this, But I don't know if the realtor is looking for that kind of a look. Maybe I should call him. Maybe I should say, hey, what do you think of this? I did this to each and every one of your photos. Pay me $100,000 now. I don't know if that would go over too well. I just don't know if that would go over too well. Alright, now I'm going to pop in another path and make a quick garbage mask. And I can't use any of the quick selection tools because it won't make a good selection. So I'm just going to spend like 30 seconds, making a path right here, and then close it, right click, make selection, use my soft brush, and I'm going to use this existing layer right here, and I'm just going to dab this in. Not even paint it in, I'm just going to dab it a few times. I really want that. I mean, there's not a whole lot I can do to make this necessarily perfect. Just gonna kind of have to work with what it gives me right here as far as the as far as how that looks, And pop in a brightness and contrast layer. I don't use curves because the brightness and contrast usually gives me enough of what I need, and I just prefer it. Sometimes I use curves, but not that often. Not for this workflow for photography and real estate and stuff. I really like brightness and contrast. And again, I got to come in here. I got to come in here and save the day again. Look at this. It's unbelievable, people. But that's why you tune into live streams like this. It's why we now have over, oh my gosh, the numbers keep growing. Unbelievable. We're almost at 90,000. That is incredible. That chat is flying right now. I can't show you on the screen, but just trust me. Chat is going ballistic right now. They're having the time of their life. They're learning about Camera Raw and Photoshop. They know that once they walk away from this live stream, that they're gonna have the tools necessary to make at least $120,000 this year. Yeah. Yep. Okay, how many do we have? We have 7 people. We have 3 images left. Ugh, I hate this property. I hate it. Oh, gosh. I'm just over it at this point, Like I said earlier, it's peasant work. These are the jobs that the peasants get. But, I wanted to associate with the common man today, so I'm doing it for you, I'm doing it so you can learn what it's like, to not make $1 million every year, like me. Hopefully very soon, you will be making over $1 million, yeah. Trust me, if you get good enough with Photoshop, it's in the bag. It's in the bag. You've got it made you've got it made in the shade. You have got it made in the shade. Nobody uses Photoshop. Like, it's such a rare program. It's like the holy grail. Nobody knows how to use this. If you can figure out how to use Photoshop, I'm telling you, your life is set financially. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be absolutely crazy. I've been doing this for about, I don't even know. I mean, it's been so many years I can't even count. I've been a professional for so many years I can't even keep track. Ah, boy. It's something, people. Let's take another look at that live stream view count. I'm just adding up all the numbers right now while I edit this photo here, and the chat, it keeps growing. The live stream numbers are growing. Again, don't pay attention to what you see here on YouTube. It's not a reflection of the real view count or people tuning in. It's just not, okay? You're going to have to take my word for it. But I just did the math, and we are officially over 100,000 people. Yeah. I can only imagine how much money I'm going to make off of YouTube from this live stream. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. I mean, the idea that I can learn Photoshop and then live stream using it on YouTube and make money off of not only knowing how to use Photoshop, but live streaming it too. Can you say genius? Can you say professional? Yeah, hello. That is I. That's me right there. Yeah. Professional. Hello. You're hearing an industry veteran talk right now. And of course, Photoshop is going to glitch out on me because it can't handle the greatness that I bring to it. So I have to close that document, reopen it. Hopefully, Photoshop will behave like it should when a professional is using it. And I'm going to pop in a hue and saturation layer. Give it a little bit of saturation. The right-hand side is a little dark, so take some contrast away, add some brightness to it, do the same for this set of windows over here. But since I did that, now I'm losing a little bit of the sky. So as that selection is still currently enabled, I'm going to come over here to the color palette. Select, I don't know, I'm feeling a light blue right now. I'm going to pop in a new layer, and with my soft brush, I'm going to paint that in. Throw it into a darken blending mode. Zoom in, take it down to 0, and just bump it up, just to give it a little bit of that sky that we lost. And that's how a professional saves the day. Yeah, that's it. And I think this one looks pretty good. Wow, look at the comments coming in. I can't even keep up. I don't even have time to talk to the 100,000 people that are watching this right now. It's just incredible. Again, I'm going to drag out a guide. I'm going to straighten these lines out. I'm going to do the same over here. I'm going to grab this. And I'm going to use the patch tool for that. Oh, and that. And again, we're going to go up to lab mode. We're going to sharpen this. And for this image, I think we're going to call it a day because I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks okay. And on that note, We have we have a very very interesting question here that was just asked by somebody here on YouTube. Again, don't look at the numbers. The numbers are not a reflection of the true people tuning in. It's on YouTube, I think over 30,000 right now, but this person is asking a question right now. Oh, let me grab my laptop. This person asks, do you do editing for your own company or do you do photography and editing? Okay. This is a company. It's a company that me and a few other people started like 10 years ago. I am basically just the lead editor. It's like me and like one other guy that like edits the photos, and we basically just handle all of the like high-end, I guess, luxury homes in the area. We do everything in between, but it's basically just a small company. But we handle most of the high-end jobs in the market that we're at. So it's me, another editor, and like a few photographers. That's about it. We actually used to be a lot bigger than we are now, but the market sucks, and there's been a lot that's happened over the last few years. So we actually kind of lost photographers because there just wasn't enough jobs coming in. So it's really a small just group of people, and we all work remote. There's no office or company like physical location. That's the good thing about it. So you don't have to lease out an office or anything like that, and there's no overhead. I think that's one of the main reasons that we've been able to actually stay in business and still turn a little, I was about to say a little profit, but over $1 million like every month. I'm gonna be honest. It's a multi-million-dollar cash cow, but it's a very small operation. Yeah, absolutely. That was a great question there. Great question. I wish I had the time to edit other people's photos that like on a freelance basis or something, like maybe for their company, but I don't know if it's even worth it, to be honest. Because when we are in season and there's so many homes on the market, it gets so busy. I don't even want to edit more than I already do. I get burnt out editing so many photos. Each year I get burnt out a little bit more and more. Starting this in like 2011, 2012, it's a lot. And yeah, making over $1 million every year does help to sweeten the deal, but still you get burnt out. It's not that much fun editing in front of a computer screen for like 8 hours straight every day. I mean, there were times where I would literally just stay up all night editing photos, just drink coffee and not even go to sleep because we were so busy, And you can always outsource. Photos to like India or South America and stuff like that, but the quality is just garbage, and they all suck. The only reason that we've actually been able to stay in business is because myself and my other editor are actually very good at what we do. I mean, that goes without saying. A Photoshop professional like myself, that goes without saying. But it's easy to get burnt out. I've had people ask if I offer freelance editing and stuff like that, and the answer is not really. I guess it kind of depends on what the situation is. Always depends on the situation and stuff, you know. Thank you for your question, though. Oh boy, this property is taken a long time. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that, man. You say you're still starting your own business. Yeah, real estate photography can be tricky. There's a lot of aspects to it when it comes to becoming successful. I'll be honest, this isn't my field that I would, I don't know. My photographer is the one that's really good with business. He's the one that knows how to talk to people and secure like agents, like secure the work that the agents want. I kind of work in the shadows. Like nobody really knows who I am as far as the real estate agents and stuff like that. And I kind of prefer it that way. I prefer it that way because we have somebody to do customer service and invoicing. We have the photographers, and then we have the editors, like me. And that having those filters in place, like someone to answer the phones and respond to emails and text messages, is what allows me and the other editors to actually work on the photos. People that are trying to do this all on their own, that's extremely difficult. In the very beginning, it might not be that difficult because your client list might not be that large. But once you start to prove yourself in the city or the market that you're in, and you start getting more calls and requests and bookings, that's when it can get kind of like chaotic. It can get pretty chaotic, and then that's when you have to start expanding and stuff like that. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you're gonna have to, once you get big enough, you're gonna have to bring in another photographer, obviously editors, and if you're the photographer and editor, that's something very difficult. And I've seen a lot of people that do have success doing their own photography and editing the photos, but I don't think I've seen people that are very big. They typically, from what I've seen, have to keep their client list fairly small and stuff like that. So, like my photographer is great at what he does. He doesn't know how to do what I do. Like I went to school for a few years and for like graphic design and like animation and 3D stuff and Photoshop and Illustrator and all that, like almost 20 years ago. So I've been doing this for quite some time. So the photographer that I work with, he doesn't want to do this. He never wanted to edit photos, you know, he just wanted to go out there and get in and out of these jobs and make as much money as possible and kind of streamline how the company works, and stuff like that, you know. And you kind of have to have people in place doing specific jobs if you're going to be a real competitor to the existing competition in your area and stuff like that. So there's a lot to it. It's an extremely competitive field. I don't know if I've seen another field as competitive as real estate photography. Everybody, whether or not they have true talent, I feel like it's a field that everybody tries to get in on. And being in this market and where we're at for like 13 years, we've seen a lot of people come and go. We've seen people kind of rise up and be competitors to us. But what they were doing is they were like undercutting prices so that people would ultimately leave us because we're not cheap. They would leave us, and then the agents would go over to the competitor But ultimately, what would happen is their quality wasn't that great. And the agents, one thing that they hate having to do is reschedule shoots for properties. The agents want to get them done, they want to get them listed, and they want to get them on the market and move on to the next one to make as much money as possible. Real estate agents don't want to waste time. Most real estate agents that I've dealt with are not nice, humble people. I know there's a lot of humble, caring, compassionate agents out there and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's a pretty cutthroat kind of market, as I'm sure most people know. So wasting time, that's not something that the realtors want to do. So these guys that would come in kind of out of nowhere and undercut our prices and be like a competitor to us for like a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, they always go under, and they just kind of have to close down shop. They just kind of have to close down shop, and ultimately they're not successful. Maybe they made a good amount of money during the time that they were in business, but there's a reason that we've been able to stick around for over a decade in one of the most, I guess, cutthroat areas in America. It's not easy to do. Real estate photography is not, it can be just too competitive. It can be too competitive. We've had people that we trained that went out on their own after we trained them for years, and we basically turned them into a professional and showed them how to do everything. We've had people that have left our company, like left us, and then went out and started their own company, and they just literally copy and pasted what we do. Like everything, all of our systems, how we run the business, because they were there. So it was like having an infiltrator in your company, and then they go out and, become a competitor to you. But, with these guys that did that, they're not really that successful. And they'll even do things like try to talk crap about us around town and stuff like that, to like sully our name or something. But the agents know who we are, and, we're completely reputable professionals. So if somebody's going to do that and they're going to try and badmouth you around town, I wouldn't worry too much. If somebody's going that low and doing petty things like that, they're probably not going to last. And their work probably doesn't speak for themselves, But for anybody trying to get into real estate photography, I would definitely try to find good people to work with, trustworthy people that are professionals, that are good at specific things. It can be a lot to undertake if you're just doing it on your own. Respect to anybody out there that's doing everything on their own, but it's very difficult. It could be very difficult. I would hope that people out there trying to start it on their own have other sources of income. Hopefully people that are doing this and trying to get into the market aren't just putting everything all at once into this. Hopefully they're, kind of doing it as like maybe a side hustle or like part-time or something, and like building up a client list. That's what I would do. I'd have another full-time job or something, and then slowly branch away from that and try and build up a client list as a photographer or something. And maybe find somebody online that lives in your country. I don't suggest going the outsourcing route overseas to India or in any of that, because you don't know who you're working with. You just kind of have a faceless company to email you email them the job, maybe you put it on an FTP server, and then they get the raw images, but you don't really know who you're working with, and I don't suggest that for a long-term solution, especially if it's, this is an industry that you want to be in for a long time. You want to know who you're working with. You want to build up a team. I guess there's a lot to it. As with any business. Yeah, I'm looking at your last comment. I agree 100%. It's extremely competitive, and you're 100% right about clients and realtors being okay with low quality jobs that are outsourced or just edited poorly. I see that a lot. I think for us, the only reason that we're still around, to be honest, is because we are where we're at physically it's a very, very small city, and it's extremely expensive to live here. It's like yachts, boats, multi-million-dollar homes and mansions on the beach. So if you're living in like a typical city, what you're going to be able to charge won't be a whole lot. My photographer is able to come up with, like I said, we work on any property. It doesn't matter if it's foundation that was just laid and the home is being built. Like, we will literally go out and photograph anything. It doesn't matter what it is, but where we make our money and what is able to keep us in business are the large multi-million-dollar homes. And for most people in America or overseas in like South America, wherever people are at, most of the time, they're not going to be living in a market that's like that, where there's tons of millionaires living in that city. Most cities in America or like Europe and Canada and stuff like that most cities and nations are just becoming more poor and desperate, unfortunately. So we're able to get away with charging higher prices. Like I said, we back up the pricing with our quality and consistency and stuff like that. But what most people are going to be able to charge isn't going to be very, very high. And I'm not saying that we charge an arm and a leg or anything like that, especially for the low-end average homes and things like that. It's pretty typical. What is going on here? Oh, layers hidden. Okay. But what most people are going to be able to charge isn't what we can charge, and what helps to keep us like afloat and stuff like that. And yeah, it sucks. Most real estate agents don't, like I said, at the end of the day, they just want to, it's not like when I do these properties, I kind of approach it from like an artistic standpoint, even though I don't consider this to be art. I go in there editing these properties with an artistic mindset, in the fact that I want to make them as good as possible, and professional and clean. And I want to be able to stand behind the work that we actually put out there. Most companies don't care, and definitely most real estate agents don't care, because at the end of the day, they want to spend as little as less amount of money. The least amount of money as possible, so they can make as much from that listing, because they're only getting like 7% of the commission or whatever it is that they're getting, the real estate agent, from the sale of that home. So if they can cut corners, they'll do it. If that house sells, even if the images look like crap, that doesn't matter to them, um, when it comes to these like millionaires and people that live on beaches, like in our areas, we're typically not talking about homes like this one. Like this home is really basic. It's a nice home. Don't get me wrong. Like this is a nice home, you know. But for this home compared to like the really high end luxury stuff, this is average. Where this is at, this house is probably selling for like seven, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 600 or 700 grand. I don't even know, you know. Um, but the quality, um, the agents don't really care when it comes to a home like this. When the agents really care about having like magazine quality, um, like images and stuff, is when you're dealing with a home that's on the beach that's like $12 million or something, like something really exotic, custom materials in the home. It was custom built, you know. They're not gonna cheap out. They're going to, like, those agents that have those properties are going to seek out the best photographers and photography companies. They're not going to cut any corners, because those real estate agents that are multimillionaires that deal only in the luxury market, um, they themselves are a brand. They want to be number one. They want not only national recognition, they want international recognition, as far as their overall portfolio of homes that they have sold. So that's a lot of the agents that we have, and those people are able, to pay the amount of money that we invoice them for, because their homes that they're putting on the market are extravagant. That's just not the average home, and it's definitely not the average real estate agent. I mean, look at realty itself. Realty is another cutthroat market. I mean, how many real estate agents are in your city? I couldn't even count the number of agents that are in my city and the surrounding, cities that where we're at. There's so many, you know. There's people in their early 20s. There's people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, there's even agents that are like 82 that are still like selling homes and stuff because they enjoy doing it, or for whatever reason. I mean, forget real estate photography. Talk about real estate itself. It's such a cutthroat, market itself. I mean, I could probably name and list off a handful of real estate agents that are still around that I know from over like 10 years ago. There's not a lot. There's not a ton of those people still around. It's all cutthroat, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it's all cutthroat. Which sucks because, you know, there is money to be made. And if you can pull it off and, start a business or start it freelance, on your own, it's a great job. It's awesome because you can make your own schedule and work freelance, basically, you know. Working for a company sucks. Working for somebody else is not fun. And I'm not saying that, you know, working for a company is necessarily like a terrible thing, but ideally, if you can have your own company and do things how you want, in order to be successful, like that's ideal. And, plus, you know, you're not giving your money to another company. The profits that you create stay with you, you know. So if you can do it freelance or have your own company, that's always great. But it's so difficult to do sometimes. there's advantages and disadvantages with everything, you know, freelance versus working for a company. You know, maybe people out there find themselves in a situation where they're going to work for a real estate company, you know. Maybe they need that experience for an established company where they can, you know, learn the ins and outs of the field itself for like 2 or 3 years, you know. Maybe there's people that are just getting into this stuff that don't know about photography, you know. It all has to start somewhere. Everything has to start at some point. There has to be a starting point for everything. You know, and we all have those different starting points. It's all different for all of us. And this window really looks like crap. I was trying to do everything I can to just make it not look like crap, but it's kind of difficult. It's kind of difficult, but I think this is the last image here. And again, I really don't like how this property turned out. Just doesn't look that great, and I know it's because of how this photographer took the photos. It's how he uses the flash. It's how he does all this stuff that sometimes just doesn't add up to a good result. And of course, you know, the worse things are out there in the field, the longer it's going to take me to actually edit, you know. But for people starting, like trying to get into this, I would say choose one or the other. Either be the editor and learn post-production and computer graphics. If that's not what you love to do, then don't do it. I love computer graphics. I love every aspect of this industry. I'm always trying to learn different things. Learn as many programs as I can. Web design, graphic design, you know, After Effects, Blender, 3D Max, whatever it is. I love computer graphics at the end of the day. And I also love photography. You know, I've been doing photography for like, I guess over 10 years now too, doing real estate and portraits and stuff. But for me, this is where it's at. I love both, but if I had to choose one as a full-time thing to do, it would definitely be editing and post-production. I would tell people to choose one or the other. You can make more money as a photographer, that's for sure. That is for sure. The editors don't make as much as the photographer, even though the editors are the ones doing most of the work. Like 8 times the amount of work. You can shoot an entire high-end luxury home in like 30 minutes if you're good enough. Exterior shots, outside, front, back, exterior, pool, lanai, master bed, guest bed. You can shoot all that stuff within like 35, 40 minutes. Move on to your next shoot. But it's going to take the editor sometimes hours and hours to edit, you know. I mean, do people want to spend more time making less money doing something? I don't know. For me, it's a trade-off because I can work remote and I can kind of do it on my schedule more so than the photographers, because the photographers have to actually schedule it and be there at a certain time, whereas this, I can kind of do it at my own pace as long as things get sent to the agents at a decent time, you know. So again, there's always advantages and disadvantages, pros and cons and all that, you know. Kind of goes with the territory. One thing that I would not want to do is go and drive around for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours shooting like 7 or 8 jobs and then come home and spend the next 2.5, 3 days editing all those jobs. Like that would be a nightmare. That's when I would be so much more willing to just pay somebody to do it, you know? Just trying to go over these final images here. This one's a little bit dark. Just trying to brighten it up a little bit. Flatten that image and then save it. Move on, keep going through them. See if I see anything else that needs to be done. I should probably come in here and just add a little bit of sky to these. But as far as money, if you can do it successfully, real estate photography is great because the market will always be there. The market's not going anywhere. It's always going to have those huge ups and downs and stuff like that, but it's one thing that will always be consistent. Just like the medical field or anything, you know. Different technologies and stuff like that, different industries will always be there. So many people get laid off and then they get replaced by automated technologies and things like that. But I mean, the agents are always going to be there and the homes are always going to be there. Somebody's always going to want to buy a home and you need someone physically there to capture the images and do photography. You know, so I mean, it's always going to be there. Just depends on how the market is in your area. Just trying to brighten that up. This image is a little dark. It's got a little too much reds and yellows. Kind of up here in the ceiling. That looks decent. Let me flatten this. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate that. I hope that you are successful in everything that you do, man. It's a cold world out there. And I'm definitely grateful to have survived all the stuff that I have in this industry and, you know, life in general and stuff like that. Hopefully good things happen, and I think that as long as people push forward and they really dedicate themselves to what they want to do in this life, like, you can literally do anything. Like, there's no doubt about that. There is no doubt about that. Just get really, really good at whatever it is you're doing. If you have a passion for it, like anything that I enjoy doing in life, I want to learn as much as possible about it. I don't care if it's cooking, learning an instrument, learning how to use a program on a computer, learning some sort of system to create something, whatever it is. If it interests me, I want to learn how to do it. I know darn well that I'm probably not going to be the best at it, but that doesn't deter me, because if I'm enjoying doing it, that's what I'm going to want to do. That's what I'm going to want to do. Even if it was like some industry where I wasn't making a lot of money, if it was something that I enjoyed doing and made just enough to get by, but it made me really happy, like for me, that's awesome. Like that's not only good enough. I mean, that's like where it's at for me. You know, people make a lot of money in this world and they're not happy. I don't want to spend, 60 hours working for a corporation that pays me $95,000 a year, but I'm miserable and stressed out all the time. Being able to work a job like this gives me the ability to actually live my life. You know, I've worked a lot of jobs before getting into this industry, and you know, I was a slave. You know, to put it lightly, you really don't. When you're working full time for other companies that you don't enjoy, where you don't enjoy doing the work, it's easy to feel like you don't have a life, and you're a slave. You know, when you have like 30 minutes for a lunch break, or maybe an hour, and you have to cram everything that you need to get done in that day during your lunch break, and you got to rush around town and, you know, grab lunch for like 10 minutes, then you got a doctor's appointment, and then you got to rush to the other side of town. You got to go do something over there, and like this, doing something like this, like where you're freelance and you can work remote and kind of do things on your own time, is what lets you breathe. You know, you can actually relax, and that stress doesn't exist. It's not there. I'm not saying that things don't get stressful. They do, but it's not the same. So I mean, if you can make a living doing what you enjoy, in your life, is, even if you don't enjoy it, and it gives you the ability to actually live your life, like, do it. You know, do it. You know, as long as it's not something evil or something. And it doesn't, you know, put weight on your shoulders every day. Probably the best part of this job is actually being able to get sleep. That might sound kind of silly, but working all the other jobs that I had is terrible for my health, because I would never get enough sleep. I'd always stay up too late working on other stuff that I had an interest in. I'd be working on other projects, and I wouldn't want to go to sleep. Then I'd have to wake up the next day and go work a job that I hated, you know. I'm just going through these, trying to do like a final review on these, and I need to remove these outlets, because I did it on another shot, so it needs to be consistent. I guess I'll leave it there. I'll leave those there. These look okay for now, I guess. I'm gonna have to come back probably in like another 30 minutes before I send these out. Yeah, this one is like off with the other color temperature and stuff, but I think they look alright overall. I should really remove this dude on this aerial shot. I might as well take like 10 or 15 seconds and just copy and paste this. I don't think anybody will notice. I don't know if this guy is absolutely integral for this shot right here. I think we can get rid of him. Yeah. And that's all right. You know, it's so far off from a distance, we can get away with that. It looks fine. This one is a little dark. But the problem is when I crank up the exposure and brightness, I'm gonna blow out the exterior, and I don't want to do that. Let me see if I can't just grab a big chunk of the ceiling here. Do that, and then kind of paint this in a little bit. and paint it out down here. Try and maintain a little bit. I guess it's all right. Let me see. Yeah, that's fine. Just a slight improvement to that. But it definitely sucks that most of the agents don't care about the overall quality. That is definitely one of my biggest gripes when it comes to this. As somebody that tries to put everything they can into stuff in their life, like real estate photography, to make it a good result, it sucks to kind of see so many people just kind of brush it off and be like, oh yeah, give me whatever. Just give me whatever, you know, and just as long as it's not total crap garbage, I'll put it on the market, and you know, if it sells, you know, good. I don't want to spend a lot of money on photography and stuff, you know. I mean, it's understandable, but it sucks that so many agents out there are willing to have, you know, something that kind of should represent them in their portfolio be crappy. You know. And, you know, it kind of comes with that trickle-down effect, because if everybody's ordering crappy stuff that's dirt cheap, then, you know, people that actually produce a good, high-quality result inevitably have to lower their prices. And if they lower their prices long enough, they'll probably go out of business, because they just can't keep up, because everybody just keeps going for the crappy result. And then nobody cares about quality anymore, you know. So at the end of the day, you're left with just cheap, outsourced garbage and stuff like that, you know, which sucks. But that kind of goes with the territory, I guess. Yeah, I think there's a few more things that I need to do with this stuff. But overall, this property looks decent. And let's take one final look at the view count here on YouTube, DLive, Odyssey, Twitch, Rumble, all these combined viewers. Wow, look at that. I'm looking at the total live stream view count right now while I edit this aerial shot. You won't believe the numbers and the turnout right now for this live stream. You won't believe it. 176,000 people. It's unbelievable. I can only imagine how much money I'm going to make off of YouTube today. This is going to be crazy. I could probably quit right now. Not even edit another photo. Not even exaggerating. Not even exaggerating. I could probably quit right now. I shouldn't, though, because we did promise the real estate agents these photos, you know, so it would be professional if I did, you know, give them these photos. I think we owe them that much, you know. I think we owe them that much. Yeah. All right, well, I think that is going to do it for today's live stream, folks. I'm going to go ahead and say farewell to the 185,000 people watching this right now. This has been just an absolutely incredible turnout here on YouTube and all these other platforms that we're simultaneously streaming from. Just incredible. Wow. Absolutely incredible. Yeah. But that's why 200,000 people are tuning in right now, is to learn how to use Photoshop and be a professional with Photoshop and make over $1 million every year, you know? That's why everyone's here right now. That's exactly why. So hopefully you learned how to, you know, be a pro in Photoshop. And not Lightroom or, you know, Affinity Pro, because Affinity Pro isn't going to do the job that Photoshop allows us to do. It's just not going to happen, folks. Believe me, I've tried it. I've tried every possible program outside of Photoshop, and they just don't work for this workflow. But wow, I mean, what a turnout. This is just incredible. What an absolute turnout it has been. Well, to the 310,000 people in Hong Kong, Italy, France, Spain, Italy, Germany. I think I said Italy twice. It's okay though. Gonna go ahead and say farewell for now. Hopefully you guys learned how to use Photoshop, and now you can, make $1 million using Photoshop, I mean, why else are we here? We're here to learn how to become professionals and make $1 million every year. Folks, have a great one. Have a great night or evening wherever you're at. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you in the next one. Have a good one.